We have a mix of remote and in-person participants today. So our first speaker is Stephen Capell from Pix Industries, who has a lightning talk on the UN Transparency Protocol. So Stephen, welcome.
Thank you very much. And my apologies for not being with you in person in lovely Nice. I'm joining you from Australia, where it's nearly 7 p.m. So I'll just get straight into it, if I may. Hopefully you can see that slide. Can everyone see a slide that says transparency at scale? This is a piece of standards work to develop a protocol for supply chain traceability and transparency. It's run by a particular little part of the UN, which for many, many years has been dealing with electronic data exchange, actually predating HTML. There's a technology called EDIFACT that's older than that. That was the first mechanism by which data was exchanged in digital data was exchanged between trading parties. So UN CFACT at the moment is turning its attention to sustainability in value chains and digitization of value chains in order to verify that. So the situation we face, as many will know, is that greenwashing, I guess everyone knows what that is fairly endemic, and various research run mostly by government authorities around the world have discovered that about 50% of green claims on products are either fraudulent or misleading. That's a huge number. And it's probably because it's been the purview of the marketing department for many decades. And what we see is regulation starting to step in to counter that problem, and basically to try to turn the trajectory from what we might call a race to the bottom into a race to the top. And what do I mean by that? Currently, it's quite easy to make misleading or fraudulent claims. And as a consequence, consumer confidence drops. People aren't so much prepared to pay a price premium when they're not sure whether the claims are true. And so even genuine businesses have to fake claims to survive. That's a race to the bottom. And I'd say we're halfway down to the bottom at this point in time. What we want to try and do is turn it around to a race to the top, where it's hard to fake environmental claims about products or facilities. That consequently, consumer confidence grows, higher prices are justified, and businesses compete on the quality of their claims. The trajectory we want to follow. And what we can see is a recognition of market failure here by regulators all over the world, and an increasing number of regulatory programs designed to increase confidence in this sort of product sustainability data. The leading area is probably Europe. Some of you may be familiar with the Digital Product Passport initiative, which is about to start, where products in Europe, sold into Europe, will have digital product passports that attest to the sustainability characteristics of the products, but in a verifiable and regulatory-backed way. Another example of the regulation is EUDR, deforestation regulation. That impacts about 600 billion of imports to Europe and requires that no food or timber products imported into Europe have touched a deforested source anywhere in their life cycle, right back to primary production. So even a t-shirt or coffee beans or whatever has to be traced back to its origin. So to meet those regulatory requirements, businesses more and more need trustworthy supply chain traceability and transparency data. But it's hard because global value chains are global. They cover lots and lots of countries. There's many, many steps. There have been several efforts over the past few years, up to a decade, of trying to solve traceability. Many of them using a paradigm, which is put all your data on my platform and I'll show you a traceability picture from farm to t-shirt or mine to electric vehicle. Now, of course, it doesn't take much thinking for you to realize that that's not scalable. It might work technically, but it'll never work politically or commercially. It's logical equivalent of saying, sorry, I can't trade with you unless you have an account at my bank. The world doesn't work like that. We all choose our own bank and we pay each other still through interoperability standards. So UNTP is to the movement of traceability and transparency data that supports sustainability, kind of as SWIFT is to the movement of payments across the international system. And there's a target of issuing at least 1 million product passports per day by 2030 following this protocol. What's this got to do with the with the World Wide Web Consortium? Might be your next question. So part of the protocol is to ensure the integrity of the data. And the data is exchanged as little packets, and here's 4 of them. And they're all based on W3C verifiable credentials, and in some cases, decentralized identifiers. So these are 2 W3 standards that are really important to the uptake of traceable and transparent value chains. It's a decentralized world, and a decentralized standard is the only one that will scale. Right? So product passports, facility records, third-party conformity credentials, and traceability events are all essentially types of verifiable credentials in the UNTP. Another key part of it is to make the discovery of these credentials scalable. One of the nice features about verifiable credentials is that they're totally independent of the transport. The security is embedded in the object. And they can also have a rendering template, which means it's digital data moving in a little packet, but it's easy to make it both human consumable and machine consumable at the same time. That's really important because issuers of these credentials shouldn't have to know whether the verifier is a machine or a human, and should just be able to issue them nonetheless. Right? So that key part of UNTP is if you've got an idea of a thing, you should be able to find data about a thing and verify that data, whether you're a human or a machine. There's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces that I won't go into, but I'm going to come back to the red ones. Basically, surrounding UNTP is semantics, access control, identity assurance, and business cases, all of which are required to make this work. And if it works, then each party is just doing their own thing. It's pretty much impossible, no matter how strong a player you are at the downstream end, to reach all the way back to the farm or the mine. It's just too diverse and too distant. What we want is a protocol where each actor just does their own selfish thing, following a standard protocol, using whatever software they like, and yet linked value chains can be discovered by following identifier resolutions. Right? So you can see there basically going from a car back to the lithium mine or the copper mine through the manufacturing process in another country. I know I've only got a few minutes, so this is really a blisteringly fast talk. You can find more data about this if you just Google UNTP or follow that URL, but it'll be the first hit if you Google it. One of the things I just wanted to share with you is one of the biggest challenges in implementing a kind of a technology-powered global distributed data sharing architecture like this is changing the way people think. Whenever you talk to technologists about moving data between 2 systems, they immediately think API. But of course, in a many-to-many environment with millions of businesses issuing and millions more verifying, you can't build API bridges between all those systems. In fact, you shouldn't even have to ask the question, what system are you on, before I send you my passport, right? So what we need is a technology that is empowered by W3C standards, which works more like the passport in your pocket. Those of you that traveled out from outside the Schengen zone to be sitting where you are today would have swiped your passport at a smart gate. What happened there is that your country issued you digital data, put it in your pocket, and signed it. And then you verified, another country verified it, and the data essentially went from country to country without any direct connection between the countries, right? Because it traveled in your pocket. And now a verifiable credential is much the same thing. And another beauty of it is you swipe your passport at a smart gate, but you also show it at the check-in desk at the hotel clerk. And they don't read the smart chip, they just look at the passport. So this is an example of a digital and paper document that works beautifully, that doesn't require any system-to-system connections that you carry with you. So I wanted to pass the idea that all of international trade, actually whether it's digital product passports or invoices or purchase orders, if you want to scale them, the best technology to do that is to make them all like the passport, namely human readable and digital and secure, and move with the goods with no dependency on the transport. And that's what UNTP is. And we are grateful for the W3C's leadership in these kind of decentralized secure architectures as a way of powering this sort of global scalability.